Okay, so today I'm painting fabric and I just wanted to make a little video to show you how easy it is to paint fabric with chalk paint. Essentially, the most important thing to remember is that you're not painting onto the fabric, you're dyeing the fabric. So you want the paint to soak into the fabric and the pigments will dye it basically. So two things to remember. One is to water your paint down and the other one is to have a mister handy, and you need to mist your whole piece first so the fabric's already damp, and then you're going to put watered down paint and it's just going to soak in really nicely and dye the fabric basically. So I'm using beautiful moonflower today, gorgeous purple, absolutely love it. So as you can see, I've watered it down. It's quite runny, and that's the kind of consistency you want it to be. So I would say that's probably maybe 75% paint, 25% water, but like, don't worry about it too much, you know. You just want it to be kind of moving nice and easily and soaking into the fabric, and if it feels like it's not, then just add a little bit more water. So anyway, first thing to do is to mist the whole piece over and get the fabric damp, and then we can start painting. So I'm going to work in sections because obviously if we spray that and then don't come back to it for a while, it's going to dry out. So I'm going to work on this section first, and then I'm going to come down and do this section here. So I've just misted it and made it nice and damp. And then take a brush. And that's it. I'm just going to go on with the paint and let it soak into the fabric. So I painted the chair in 3 coats of moonflower because the paint's watered down. You need 3 coats to get full coverage over the whole chair. And in between each coat, I just lightly sanded it with a 180 grit sandpaper. Next thing I did was a coat of silver pearl all over the wooden frame of the chair. And the next step is to create an aged silver finish. So I've just got a different metallic, which is a really deep grey, space grey it's called. And I'm going to paint that all over. And then I'm going to just take it back off with a damp cloth basically. So make sure it gets down into all the little details. Just adding that extra layer of dimension, and then also we're going to put some black wax over this, which is also going to age it up. It's going to look amazing. So just working in sections so it doesn't dry too quickly. And then I've just got a soft cloth. This is t-shirt material, nice and soft, and it's damp. I'm just going to gently take back some of this paint so that you've got kind of 2 tones of silver basically. So you can see having the 2 layers of silver has kind of taken out that it's just not so one-dimensional now. It looks more interesting, and it just looks like sort of old tarnished silver. Okay, next up we're going to just add a few little speckles to give it a bit more of an aged look. So I've got some, this is licorice, and I've really watered it down, so it's just really drippy basically. I reckon that's 50-50 paint and water. And then I've got a paintbrush and I've cut it off. I don't know if you can see the bristles are really short and stubby, so it's quite spiky. And I'm just going to flick the paint. I know it sounds scary, don't be scared. But what I have done actually is move this chair away from the wall, because just remember that whatever's behind your piece of furniture will probably get flicked as well. So move your furniture away from anything you don't want to get covered in spots. And I'm just going to put a bit of glad wrap over here so that we don't flick it all over the fabric of the chair as well. So yeah, mix up your wash. Get yourself a paintbrush cut with stiff bristles, cut them down, or you can use an old toothbrush or a new toothbrush even. That's quite a good way to do it. And then you just want to dip your brush in the paint, and then you're just going to literally flick it with your finger. So just pull back and just gently, lightly flick the paint. And what will happen is you'll just get a light speckle all over. It just kind of makes it look a bit older. It adds another layer of dimension. Now if there's any bits that you don't like, you can just get a cloth and dab them off while the paint's still wet. So put my damp cloth here. Actually pretty happy with that, but yeah, it's very easy to just take off anything you don't like. And I'll just show you a bit closer. So you can see how that kind of speckle just adds kind of another dimension to it basically. And then lastly, we're going to put some black wax on, and it's going to look beautifully aged. Okay, so just going to show you the black wax. So we've got the plain Jane black furniture wax. Now I like to just use a little stiff brush like this, and I'm just going to poke the wax into these details. So just going to stab it in around the edges and into the details. Now with the metallic paint, you don't need to seal it with the wax, so we're just using this for decorative purposes basically, so you don't need to worry about putting it all over. I'm just going to put it where it's going to create a nice effect. Okay, and then I'm just going to get a cloth. I'm just going to wipe back so that it only sits in the details. Creating more sort of shadow and depth. And then I'm just, because there's a little groove along here, I'm just going to put some down the side as well. And then I'm just going to soften and shade that with the cloth. So rags and cloths are one of my favourite things to paint with. I think I use them as much as paintbrushes. So we've got several layers, I guess, which are creating that aged effect. So we've got the silver, the space grey, the kind of speckle, and the black wax. And it all just layers up to create a sort of tarnished silver appearance. Now the next job is to just get the clear wax onto the fabric. Okay, so this has had 3 coats of Moon Flower, so you can see it's got full coverage now, and hopefully you can still see on the video it's still nice and soft and pliable. And we're going to apply the wax, and that's just going to keep it nice and supple. So once the wax is on there, it kind of feels like leather really, not like fabric. So normally when I wax furniture, I tend to just use a cloth, but I find with the fabric, I quite like to use a brush because of the weave of the fabric, you can sort of get right down into all the little nooks and crannies. And especially with a chair like this, where you've got these buttons, if you use one of these nice pointy brushes, you can get right in there and get the wax all over. So this is just the plain Jane clear wax. So I'm just going to pop some on my brush, and then it's just very easy to just brush it on basically, and you'll see how the colour instantly deepens down. So it will dry back a little bit from how dark it is there. Actually, you can see, because I've actually waxed this bit here. So this is unwaxed. This is waxed and dried, and this is the wax going on wet. So this is the kind of the finished look basically. So I'm just kind of going around in circular movements to really get that wax down into the fabric, and then I'll just kind of pull off the excess in one direction. And that's it, that's my moonflower chair all finished. And I can never resist doing a little bit of styling. That's my great-grandmother's recipe book that she wrote by hand. I thought it made a pretty touch with the chair. Anyway, I hope you love it as much as I do, and if you have a go, then let me know how you go.